Hello everyone, this is the CircuitPython weekly meeting for Monday, April 28th, 2025. It's a time of the week where we get together to talk about all things CircuitPython. I'm Dan and I'm sponsored by Adafruit to work on CircuitPython. CircuitPython is a version of Python designed to run on tiny computers called microcontrollers. CircuitPython development is primarily sponsored by Adafruit, so if you want to support Adafruit and CircuitPython, consider purchasing hardware from adafruit.com. This meeting is hosted on the Adafruit Discord server. You can join anytime by going to adafru.it/discord. We hold the meeting in the CircuitPython dev text channel and the CircuitPython voice channel. The meeting typically happens on Mondays at U.S. Eastern Time, 2 p.m., 11 a.m. U.S. Pacific Time, except when it coincides with a U.S. holiday. In the notes document, there's a link to a calendar you can view online or add to your favorite calendar application. We also send notifications about upcoming meetings via Discord. If you would like to receive these notifications, ask us to add you to the @CircuitPythonista's Discord role in the Adafruit server. There is a shared notes document that accompanies the meeting and recording. Right now it's a Google document. You can contribute to this document beforehand. The final notes document includes timestamps to go along with the video, so you can use the doc to skip around and view the parts of the video that interest you most. The meeting tends to run 30 to 60 minutes. After each meeting, we post a link for the next meeting's notes document to the CircuitPython dev channel on the Adafruit Discord server. Check the pinned messages to find the latest notes doc so you can add your notes for the following meeting. If you wish to participate but cannot attend, you can always leave hug reports and status updates in the document for us to read out during the meeting. This meeting is held in 5 parts. I will go over those parts as we get to each one. So we'll start with the community news section, and I'll take a timestamp. All right. These news items come from the Python on Microcontrollers newsletter. I'll tell you more about that later. First item up is MicroPython turns 12. April 29th is MicroPython's 12th birthday. In 2013, Damien George released MicroPython, and it has migrated to all kinds of equipment on Earth and beyond. And there's a link about this. And CircuitPython is a friendly fork of MicroPython. We are indebted to Damien George and the other developers of MicroPython, without which CircuitPython would not exist. Next up, SparkFun goes all in with Python and hardware. SparkFun continues to embrace Python and microcontrollers, starting a how-to video series for MicroPython on YouTube. They've also established a dedicated GitHub repository for Python-related content. And there's some links in the notes doc. Next up, Claude Code. Claude Code, best practices for agentic coding. Claude Code is a command line tool for agentic, sometimes called vibe coding. It doesn't have to be just vibe, but many programmers have been trying out AI and LLM tools to help in the coding or debugging process. This article covers tips and tricks that have proven effective for using one tool, namely Claude Code, across various code bases, languages, and environments. And I'll say that we have been using Claude Code internally for CircuitPython development. I mean, not whole hog, but it saves a lot of time when we want to make pervasive changes, and also can suggest certain things. I helped it. It made some suggestions about some debugging that I was doing. Wasn't as helpful as I hoped, but it led me down some things to look at. Next up, Casio launches its best FXCG100 ClassWiz graphing calculator with MicroPython programming. Casio US introduces the FXCG100 ClassWiz, a powerful color graphing calculator with MicroPython for app programming and 29,000 math functions. No, 2,900 math functions, not 29,000. Students can use the calculator on standardized tests by enabling exam mode, which locks out custom apps and user-aided data. And there's a link about that. The TI-84 plus CE Python calculators take it a step further by including the ability to collect data wirelessly from external sensors and control devices, such as robots and flying drones. So there are calculators that have CircuitPython and MicroPython. Both of these are very interesting. So where did all these news items come from? They came from the Python and Microcontrollers weekly newsletter, which goes out via email on Monday mornings. If you'd like to subscribe, visit adafruitdaily.com or to look at a sample issue. Thanks to Ann for putting the newsletter together. If you have any Python and hardware projects to share or find content you'd like to see included, please consider contributing that content to the newsletter. You can open a PR on GitHub in the Adafruit CircuitPython weekly newsletter repo. You can tag @engineer or hashtag CircuitPython and Mastodon or Blue Sky or on X, or email cpnews@adafruit.com with a link. So go ahead. It's very helpful, and this is where all news come from. Take a look. All right, next up is our next major section, the state of CircuitPython. The libraries and Blinka. This section is a quantitative overview of the entire project. It gives us a chance to look at the health of the project separate from our status updates. We'll talk about the project overall and then separately discuss the core, the libraries, and Blinka. So first of all, overall, and I'll take a timestamp. In the past week, there were 31 pull requests merged by 16 authors. A couple of new contributors that I haven't seen before are Canyon Chris and Birdie B. I think I have seen Birdie B on and off. Thank you very much. There were 4 reviewers. There were 15 closed issues by 6 people and 7 opened also by 6 people. And next up, we'll tell you about the CircuitPython core. Scott, could you read that?
Yes, I can. I just have to find it. Okay, so for the core, we had 21 pull requests merged from 12 different authors. Kenny Chris is new as well to the core, and Rhiannon also. Thanks to those folks. We had 3 reviewers, Gambler21, Tanu, myself, and Tan. Thanks to the reviewers. We had 20 open pull requests, so we're comfortably under our goal of being on a single page of 25. We had 11 closed issues by 5 people and 5 open by 4 people, so we're net down 6, which is great, for a total of 773 open issues, which is about where we've been. We used milestones to track prioritization for Adafruit-funded development, which is primarily how development happens. That is to say that if you are not Adafruit funded and you want to work on something else like that we marked long term, we're still happy to support you, but it's not something that we're planning on doing soon. We have 37 open issues for 10.0, which is our next major stable release. We have 0 open issues on 9.2x, which is our current stable release, which is great. And those are the 2 main ones. We have no issues not assigned to milestones, so we're keeping up on triage. That's it for the core.
All right, thank you, Scott. Okay, next up, Tim will tell us about libraries.
All right, thanks, Dan. This section covers all of the CircuitPython libraries. They are split up into 2 different bundles, all these stats, and we have the Adafruit bundles with all the Adafruit libraries. There are 357 Adafruit libraries right now in the bundle. And we have the community library, which are libraries contributed by individuals and members of the community. Right now we have 159 libraries in that community bundle, so total there are 516 libraries available for CircuitPython. Let's see, over the last week, we have had 10 pull requests merged by 5 different authors. Thanks to NearDoc, Birdie B, DGloud, JPosada 2020. We had 2 reviewers, thanks to Scott and myself, for reviews in libraries this week. Of the pull requests that were merged, there were a handful that were getting up there. The oldest ones were up around 90 in 70 days, and then, like usual, the newest ones were down at 1 day. There were, after those 7 days, there were 51 remaining pull requests that are open. The oldest one of those is getting up there at 984. The new one, the newest open pull request, is only 2 days old right now. There were 4 issues closed by 4 people over the last week, and 1 new issue opened up by 1 person. And that leaves us right now with 718 open issues across all of the Adafruit libraries. And there are 3 of those currently that are labeled as good first issues, which you are able to find over at circuitpython.org/contributing, which is the website where you should go if you are interested in getting involved in CircuitPython. On that page, when you first load it, is a list to open PRs. Those are links over to GitHub. These are things, proposed changes that someone has submitted to any particular library, and they are waiting for a person to come along and review that change, and that could be you if you are interested in getting involved. What you would do in that case is click through the link to the GitHub page with the PR, take a look at the code. You can see the changes there in GitHub. You can also clone it locally if you'd like and take a look at the changes locally. It is great if you have the hardware for that library or you have some knowledge or interest in that library especially. If you do have the hardware, you can try out whatever the new code is. You can try out the changed version. And then once you have done that and looked over the code, you can leave a comment on GitHub letting us know what you found when you looked it over. You can try to look for things like syntax errors, spelling, additional comments that you think should be added. Anything like that is totally good. Leave a comment on GitHub letting us know what you found. If you did have the hardware and you were able to try it out, let us know how that went as well. And if you would like to get leveled up to leave official reviews on GitHub, we can work with you to make that happen as well. And then if you would like to start submitting some changes of your own, back on that page at circuitpython.org/contributing, there are links across the top. If you click over to the issues navigation link, you'll find a similar looking list of links to GitHub, but these ones represent issues. There's no proposed change yet. These are things identified where someone is saying that we would like a proposed change, but no one has actually done that work yet. And that, again, could be you if it's something that you're interested in doing. So you could click through to GitHub, figure out what the issue is about, whether it's fixing a bug or adding a new feature or enhancement or something like that. And then you can work on the changes necessary to fix that issue and submit your own PR with those changes. We do have a guide on the Adafruit Learn system for contributing using Git and GitHub. We also have folks who are around throughout the week who are more than happy to help you out. So if you are trying to review or submit your own PRs and you're having trouble with any part of the process, whether it's actions or pre-commit or anything to do with version control, Git and GitHub, anything like that, just come say hi on Discord. Let us know what you are working on and what kind of trouble you're having. We'd be happy to help you out. In terms of new libraries this week, the new library in the Adafruit bundle is pathlib, and the updated libraries this week are USB host descriptors, display emoji text, and then in the community bundle, the synth voice library. So you can check that stuff out if you would like. And that's what we've got for libraries this week. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Tim. Okay. And next up is about Blinka. Blinka is our compatibility layer for CircuitPython on single board computers like Raspberry Pi. So Blinka lets you write code that looks like CircuitPython code that runs under regular CPython, that is regular Python, on things like Raspberry Pi and many other single board computers. So in the past week, there were no pull requests merged. There are 30 open pull requests outstanding. There were no issues closed and 1 opened. And there are right now 155 open issues, and right now we support 146 boards under the Blinka compatibility layer, which is quite a few. And that is it for Blinka. And now we'll move on to the next major section, Hug Reports. Hug Reports is a chance to highlight folks in the CircuitPython community and beyond for doing awesome things. I'll start, and then we'll go down the list of Hug Reports alphabetically. If you are text only or are missing the meeting, I'll read your notes when I get to them in the list. All right. So starting with me, thanks to ADCC for diagnosing issues with the ESP IDF upgrade to v5.4.1 that he's doing. Thanks to Complex Symbol for finding and fixing a serious parsing problem with complex numbers that I'm really surprised hasn't been found up to now, but it's also present in MicroPython. Thanks to Gambler21, who's been doing recent reviews and fixes. Thanks very much. Thanks to Foamy Guy, who moved some libraries from the discontinued CircuitPython.org bundle to the community bundle. And there were a bunch of infrastructure issues associated with that, as he mentioned. And thanks to Scott for addressing a number of sticky issues before he starts taking some time off. And that's it for me. I'll read ADCC's contributions now. Thanks to Dan H. for all the invaluable support and advice debugging ESP IDF upgrade issues, plus his fine work diagnosing and fixing the TLS certificate issue. And next up is Tim.
All right, thanks, Dan. I have a hug report for you. Thanks to Dan for helping me resolve some of the issues with GitHub repos and in the PyPy settings and things like that cropped up while I was moving those libraries over to the community bundle. Thanks to Scott for improvements to display, garbage collection, and audio playback. The FruitJam animation is looking great on hardware, so that's really cool to see the improvements. As well, also another hug report thanks to Scott for looking over my USB guides and code last week, and a group hug to everyone. Thanks.
All right, thank you. And we'll round out hug reports with Scott.
Hello. I have a quick hug for Gambler21 and Relic SE for their continued SynthIO improvements and fixes and tests and testing.
All right, thank you. Okay. Now, next up is status updates. Take a timestamp. It's our time to tell, status updates is our time to tell folks what we're up to individually. As we did with hug reports, I'll start and we'll go through the list of updates alphabetically. When I call on you, take a couple of minutes to talk about what you've been doing since the last meeting and what you'll be doing until the next meeting. If a discussion that comes up becomes too long for status updates, we can move it to the In the Weeds section. So starting with me, as I mentioned, ADCC was working on the ESP IDF version 5.4.1 upgrade. There was an odd problem. TLS wasn't working at all. That is, HTTPS fetches and things like that. And I figured out what was going on with that, and the fix was easier than I thought, though it took a couple of days to diagnose the problem. Right now, I'm helping on another problem we've seen, which is not obvious that it's not due to the upgrade, but we sort of discovered it accidentally. And it means that when you use ESP32C3 and C6 chips with something like Thani or code.circuitpython.org, you often get hard crashes. So we've narrowed that problem down and simplified it greatly so that you could type a single character and invoke the error. And we'll continue on working on that. And next up, I'll read ADCC's contributions. Cleared up all known issues with the ESP IDF version 5.4.1 upgrade, testing on RISC-V expressive parts. ESP32C3 and C6 blocked due to unrelated Python interpreter crashes. That's what I was just mentioning. And he will continue debugging the expressive RISC-V problem that we talked about. All right, and next up we've got Tim.
All right, last week I was working on the USB keyboard and USB mouse guides. The keyboard guide is live now, and the mouse one is submitted pending review, so that should be live here fairly soon. The next thing I had was I did a sweep through some PR reviews in the library land. That's where some of the older PRs mentioned before came from, primarily in the Matrix Portal and LED Animation Library, but there were a couple of newer ones sprinkled in as well. I did some updates and a lot of cleanup in the FruitJam animation code, and I tested that on the latest version of CircuitPython Core. In infrastructure stuff this week on the Adafruit, on the Adabot library, I should say, there was an issue where it was trying to parse JSON, and when if it failed, it ended up just kind of stopping early, which caused, like, this is used by an actions task when it's generating the reports. In fact, some of the reports we use in this meeting, when that was failing, it would just give up in the middle of the report. It wouldn't try to continue on. So now there's some additional error handling. It should try to at least move on to the next library if it does get anything weird returned. by the server. And then also this morning, I tried to chase down another separate issue that popped up in the community bundle when I noticed that the updates of the submodules were not working. So I'm actually talking a little bit back and forth with Jeff about a library there, and we'll have a fix for that soon, I think. The other stuff I did this week, I tested out a project that Liz did a while ago, the YBX3, or this is similar to the old concept of teletext. The project originally ran on a Pico W, and I tested it out on a Pico 2W. Found that it's not currently working, but I did also test CircuitPython Pico DVI in the process and found that that was working. So if you like to do display and web-based projects on your Pico 2W with CircuitPython, you totally can. And then the last thing I have is I continue work on bitmap tools for Blinka Display I/O. I implemented the dither function, and I fixed the default argument behavior for all the rest of the functions. And I did realize that I do have one more to do, so the very last thing to do before that's complete is to implement the boundary fill function, which I think will actually be one of the easier ones for me. So I'm excited to get that complete here in the next couple of days. And that's what I have been up to. Thanks.
All right, thank you. And we'll finish off status updates with Scott.
Hello. So the main housekeeping thing is that starting Thursday, I'm working when the baby sleeps, unless I'm taking a meeting with said baby. So I'm really trying to wrap things up while I have like lots of dedicated time. The GC selective collect is merged in, thanks to Dan for the review. I did a little more testing. It drops garbage collection times for the Lars IO paint example from over 200 milliseconds down to 15 milliseconds. This is both the selective collect and another setting that the MicroPython team pointed us to. Dropped us down all the way down there, so that's been awesome. I did a build fix by adjusting the USB buffer sizes on the S2 to fix those builds. It snuck in because our matrix selector thing, which decides which boards to build when something comes in, doesn't handle header changes quite right. So that's how we got main kind of broken without seeing that. But the PRs that followed up all failed. So we found it pretty quick. I also, Dan just merged this in a fix with an issue with Thani. After my current working directory changes, basically I only reset the working directory in some cases. And so the REPL stuff didn't work because it had like invalid current working directory. I did some testing on direct USB hosts via the Feather RP2350, and it's just not working very well. I'm not sure why. I looked on the Salier, I looked at the Beagle, and didn't have a lot of insight. So that continues. I haven't had a lot of issues on the Fruit Jam, but the Feather RP2350's had directly connecting a single device has been a little bit more of a struggle. But I'm ready not to work on that. It's really in the weeds. So the last thing I'm doing is I need to fix audio playback. I changed the way that playback works on the RP2s because if buffer filling wasn't keeping up, ended up playing random memory, which causes it to make all sorts of crackles and stuff. So I fixed that, but I didn't. There is a case or a timing thing that can happen where it basically stops playing back. So there's a gap between when you start filling a buffer and blah blah blah. I'm working on that so that we can reliably start it all back up. That's what I'll say. That's the main thing I'm going to try to do before Thursday, but I am like not completely gone on Thursday, so I will be able to follow up if there's PR stuff there.
Okay, thank you, Scott. So we don't have an in the weeds section this time. This is sometimes where we bring up issues for group discussion. So we'll just move on to the meeting wrap up. And all I have to say about that is that our next meeting is at the usual time and day next Monday, a week from now, May 5th. And we'll see you all then. Bye-bye, and I'll stop recording.